Football season is underway, so now is the perfect time to download FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's free bets back if your first bet doesn't win. Just sign up with promo code BLUEWIRE. FanDuel is great because it has all of your favorite bets, from the money line to point spreads to player props. The app is safe, secure, and easy to use, and you get your winnings paid fast. So sign up today with promo code BLUEWIRE for your no-sweat first bet. Make every moment more this season with FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NFL. 21 plus in select states. First online real money wager only. Refund issued as non-withdrawable free bets that expire in 14 days. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit fanduel.com/RG in Colorado, Iowa, Michigan, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Illinois, or Virginia. 1-800-NEXT-STEP or text NEXT-STEP to 53342 in Arizona. 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut. 1-800-9-WITH-IT in Indiana. 1-800-522-4700 or visit KS Gambling Help in Kansas. 1-877-770-STOP in Louisiana. 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369 in New York. The Tennessee Red Line, 1-800-889-9789 in Tennessee, 1-800-522-4700 in Wyoming, or visit www.1800gambler.net in West Virginia.
Doom and gloom and misery here at Spectrum Center. Last one here in January of 2017. But that ugly bender is all over for Wes Unseld Jr. and the Washington Wizards. They improved to 5-6 on the year, and they snapped the Hornets' 9-game mastery of them here at Spectrum Center. The Hornets still have 3 more opportunities to get it back as the regular season unfolds.
All right. Welcome, Hornets fans. This is Richie, and we are back for another post-game Buzz Beat. I'll be joined by Spencer tonight following the loss to the Wizards. As we get into this, I wanted to get our usual plugs in. Be sure to give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcast. I know we really love reading those reviews to get a good understanding on what you guys enjoy about our podcast. Definitely makes us feel good when we get a chance to read those. Also, visit buzzbeat.substack.com to learn more about BuzzBeat Plus. You can always start off as a free subscriber and then go from there. Spencer, how's it going? I saw you were at the Panthers game in Cincinnati. How was that?
Yeah, it wasn't great. No, it was fun. It was a good time. It's probably the only Panthers game I'll get to this year. I'm in Cincinnati today and tomorrow for work, so came up a day early. Check out the Panthers. They were frisky in Atlanta, so I kind of made a last-second decision to come up, and they were not frisky yesterday, Richie. Not really at all. So I picked the wrong game, clearly. Anyway, Cincinnati is a really cool town. I like it. I've been up here a few times for work. Ryan Gas Brewery, one of my favorites in the nation, really. Yeah, it's just a super blue-collar place, and always enjoy coming here, so. But yeah, wrong Panthers game to come to. Whatever.
I was wondering why you're in Cincinnati. I didn't know you would just make that trip for a game. So I figured you were there for some specific reason. But I'm actually going to the game on Thursday night. It's just weird how the Panthers are seemingly in the NFC South race, but not really because they're just so bad. But just a couple wins here or there against their divisional opponents, and they can seemingly be back in the hunt there.
Yeah, yesterday it was weird because the defense, has been really, really good. Certainly the front seven has seemed solid all season. And, the Bengals did whatever they wanted and ran the football really effectively. So that was a bummer. But anyways, hey, look, the Panthers, they need a top 5 pick, just like the Hornets do, right, and need to draft, a really good player, primarily for the Panthers, a quarterback. So whatever, no harm, no foul, but it was nice it was a beautiful day up here. So it was great to get out and see some football.
Good. So before we get into the recap of the Wizards game, I'd love to quickly chat about the end of the game against the Nets on Saturday night. Charlotte had a 12-point lead that they blew in the final 6.5 minutes of the game. KD was inserted. That was when the tide started to turn a little bit. I remember turning to the person beside me in the arena and saying, obviously we have a 12-point lead here, but let's see if we can hold this as Durant hasn't played a single minute left in this fourth quarter. He's such a difficult guard because if you play him straight up, he's going to find ways to beat you. But if you trap or double, he's smart and he's willing to pass over the top of you. But man, the Nets definitely picked on Plumlee, and they put him through pick and roll after pick and roll after pick and roll, and the team just couldn't navigate around that, and that 12-point lead evaporated fairly quickly. So I know that there has been some conversation with this center rotation with Richards and Mason Plumlee and just not seeing a ton of PJ at the 5. And then obviously Mark Williams has bounced down to Greensboro. Now he's back up with Charlotte. I don't know what your thoughts are or what your feelings were at the end of the game. I know that I had some strong feelings when it came to the way that Clifford handled that. I think what was difficult was the fact that Nick Richards did play those first 5 or 6 minutes of that quarter. So it was very hard to obviously, not give him a breather. You had to give him that. But at some point, the way that they were just picking on Plumlee makes you wonder, could they have done something differently, whether that was playing PJ at the 5 or whether that was, if you're going to go big, I've said this, if you're going to exploit some kind of big advantage that they have, it's not with Mason. Mason's not going to bruise anyone in the post. So just talk about your thoughts there, the way that the Nets were able to come back in Charlotte on Saturday night.
Yeah, I mean, Durant, you get into a half-court situation. I mean, like you mentioned, Clifford laid it out well. He's you got to throw doubles at him when the game slows down at the end, and he can beat you over the top with the shot, and he can beat you over the top of the pass because he can see over the top of double teams. So it's just so hard with him, obviously, but we've heard that for years. When it comes to the whole Plumlee conversation, Richie, honestly, I just don't get it why he's out there at the end of any game, regardless of the opponent. He's been fine this year. I'm not look, Plumlee, they've run a lot of their offense through him this year from the high post, and he is a good passer, and he does a lot of good things. I mean, he hustles on defense. You got to play drop. He's not a rim protector. He's not an enforcer or a presence like Richards is. So all that to say, Plumlee has been good for Charlotte this year. He's overtaxed in his role, but to have him out there in these last 2 games, specifically close games at the end, I just don't get it. If you're actually trying to win basketball games, I don't understand why he's out there, A, without PJ Washington being at the 5, or B, without Nick Richards being in that spot as the center and PJ playing 4. I just don't understand how you think you're playing winning basketball or actually trying to win a game by having Plumlee on the floor in that moment. Let's just pretend Nick Richards on the floor instead of Mason Plumlee and just talk about offense. Can you run high post offense out of Nick Richards? No, but the Hornets are lost in the half court. They're lost. I mean, you watch them for half a quarter and you're like, oh my God, this team cannot score consistently in the half court. So at least what Nick Richards does is bring you scrapyard, scrappy junkyard offensive rebounding, keeping balls alive that leads to, tap outs or offensive rebound, throw it back out threes, that kind of stuff. To me, that is a much more logical formula to winning half-court basketball when the game slows down than whatever Mason Plumlee is bringing you. But I'm not saying they're actually trying to win games either. So
the NBA season is underway, and it's the perfect time to download FanDuel, America's #1 sports book, because right now, new customers get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's $1,000 back in free bets if your first bet doesn't win. FanDuel has all your favorite bets from the money line to point spreads to player props. You can even combine your bets for a chance at an even bigger payout with a same-game parlay. Plus, with live betting, you'll get updated odds on games that have already started. The FanDuel Sportsbook app is safe, secure, and super easy to use. So download FanDuel today using promo code BLUEWIRE to get your no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. Make every moment more this season with FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NBA. 21 or older and present in Virginia. First online real money wager only. Refund issued as non-withdrawable free bets that expires in 14 days. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Ambitious hiring goals for the last quarter of 2022? With a powerful hiring partner, big goals are no big deal. You just need Indeed. Find top talent fast with Indeed's suite of powerful hiring tools like Indeed Instant Match, assessments, and virtual interviews. Hate waiting? Indeed's U.S. data shows over 80% of Indeed employers find quality candidates whose resume on Indeed matches their job description the moment they sponsor a job. Something I love about Indeed is that it makes hiring all in one place so easy because Indeed helps star applicants shine before the interview with over 135 graded assessment tests that they can take from cooking to coding. Start hiring now with a $75 sponsored job credit to sponsor your job post at Indeed.com/BlueWire. Offer good for a limited time. Claim your $75 credit now at Indeed.com/BlueWire. That's Indeed.com/BlueWire. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed.
Oh, I love your conspiracy theories. Yeah, it's just, I mean, I don't think Nick Richards would have fared much better in those pick and roll situations, but I just think that he could have given him something on the offensive end. Let's go ahead and get into tonight's game against the Wizards. It went final 108-100. Hornets drop their fifth straight game. They fall to 3-8 with their record. The three-point shot was not falling for either team, but the Hornets made just 5 of 32 the last time I checked. I don't know if that changed because we started recording this with about a minute left to play. You know, they tried to get to the rim. They tried to withstand some of their deficiencies in the offensive half court, as Spencer was talking about. Whenever they needed a three-point shot, they just couldn't get it to drop. And there just seems like a variety of like odd and silly fouls and violations tonight that just made you shake your head. And it really prevented the Hornets from taking any kind of momentum and getting a lead. Plumlee got into some foul trouble early in this game. Book traveled. The travel was the funniest part to me because the worst part was like he didn't even realize that he was traveling. Like he was so confused that he did something wrong in that situation. So all these different things that just kind of added up when you couple that with the fact that the team is just really trying to steal points, whether that's in transition or on the offensive glass with Nick Richards. And this offense is just so hard to watch when they're missing so many key players that are necessary for, you know, the success on that end of the court. So Hayward and LaMelo and even Cody Martin to an extent can add something that this team just doesn't have right now. So again, the offensive half court situation was just very much a common trend that we're seeing recently. And, you know, as much as Clifford has improved the defense, it's not to the point to where they can overcome, you know, the offense that we saw tonight.
No question. And another really good defensive performance from this team. I mean, honestly, like they're well connected. They play hard. They get over screens. I mean, Dennis Smith. I was thinking in the fourth quarter, Richie, like if he was just almost close to average as a shooter at the point guard position or at the guard position in general, like, oh my gosh, what would we have here? You know, but. That's the piece that's missing. But it's really fun to watch him play. I mean, he makes plays off the ball, makes plays in the passing lane, just getting his hands in there. He's got super strong hands. When he goes for a ball, he's getting his hands on it, and he's affecting where that ball goes. You can see guys reach for it a lot. Rarely do you see somebody every time they reach for it, they're either going to commit a foul, the ball's going the other way, or they're going to rip it out. And he's one of those guys. And And then obviously on the ball, he's been a huge difference maker. But I thought Charlotte tonight, I mean, you brought it up, like a lot of the mid-range game for Washington was pretty ridiculous. And I would say and a fair chunk of those were open shots. Charlotte's going to play that drop coverage, which is inviting, long to semi-long mid-range jump shots. But they made a lot of them. They made a lot of tough ones. And that's kind of been something that's followed Charlotte everywhere this year. I mean, it's good. You want to give up mid-range shots, but when the opponent is making them a lot, which has been the case for Charlotte this season, it turns into less of a good strategy, right? Washington as well tonight shot 76% at the rim. That's a huge number. Definitely not good enough. Charlotte protected the rim pretty well in terms of like how many shots Washington got from there, but it did. I agree with what you just said. It seemed like a lot of stupid fouls from Charlotte, a lot of long twos going in for Washington, just like wrong place, wrong time, kind of whistles and balls bouncing in the wrong direction and shots at the end of a shot clock, or when it seems like somebody's got a hand in the face, that kind of stuff. But I don't know. It's ugly. I mean, to me, honestly, and we can go wherever you want with this, but it boils down to Charlotte's they just really cannot score in the half court right now. Tonight, get this. Charlotte in the half court tonight, less than 0.75 points per possession in the half court. There's some high school teams out there that might be able to do a little better than that. So it's as bad as it could get. They just can't space the floor. It's nice to have Rozier back, but when you have Dennis Smith Jr. out there, you got, we saw Maldon out there a little bit tonight. Jalen McDaniels couldn't make anything. Like they have nothing that resembles floor spacing. And I really recognized in the first half that I thought the Wizards they're almost reluctant to like come out of like 2 or 3 feet behind the 3-point line. Like unless it was Rozier or somebody you really knew who could, could threaten you, which Rozier's really the only guy. Like they were just going under everything and just like, there's no path to the rim for you. So you're going to have to take this shot. And that's going to be the scout on them for the rest of the season. It's ugly in the half court.
Yeah, that half court stat was definitely alarming. And like I mentioned, they tried to steal points, whether it was through the offensive glass or through transition, because you're going to have to do that. And I guess Terry Rozier's return has been timely in that sense, in terms of making it a little bit more watchable on that end. I think there's a lot of dribbling on his end, for better or for worse, just to kind of get things going offensively. He just knows that he has to make things happen within the half court with LaMelo and Hayward out. And, sometimes that does look like a lot of ISOs and over dribbling, but, he can still get things going when he runs off of screens and DHOs and kind of use that to his advantage. The biggest thing for me is if he can just continue to make quick decisions and rise up and shoot off of those quick decisions. I really have no issues with the volume of shots that he takes right now, especially with the current situation that the Hornets have going on with their injuries. You did mention DSJ. If he could just be somewhat average on the offensive end, not that he's not playable, but he would be more playable in situations where offense is needed. If you just watch him play defense, he's just so feisty and active on that end. It's actually fun to watch because the Hornets just aren't used to having someone like that at the point of attack. Like, just watch the way he chops his feet. He gets into the chest of his opponents. He's like a brick wall, and he knows that if opponents are backpedaling or they pick up their dribble, he's going to be right up in their space. It's that type of energy that we've been dying to see on that end of the court, even though his offensive game really doesn't match that. PJ Washington, I thought, for spurts, he had that nice little run in the third quarter, played well. I think the Hornets made a concerted effort to get him going in the post. He attacked Kispert early on. He even had a post bucket score against Kispert in the final 5 minutes of this game to keep the game relatively close. And I'll say this with PJ, whether it was this game or just kind of in general, I know we've seen like this like up and down wave with him with his like off the dribble shooting this year, but it's just so interesting to see his versatility with the way that he can score. He almost looks like a wing out there with the way he's, being comfortable with the ball in his hands. And some of his shots off the dribble tonight were just way off, like they wouldn't even hit rim. But coming off the bounce, shooting off the bounce, he just looks so fluid with it that at least it looks nice until it gets close to the rim at some points. But you try to get him in different spots. You like the ability where he can get points being aggressive in situations where he has the advantage. And like I said, in the third quarter, I think he scored 9 points in that quarter, scored in a variety of ways, slips, pick and rolls, fading to the corner and transition threes and stuff like that. So, I like the comfort with the ball in his hands, even though I feel like this season has kind of been up and down in terms of that off the dribble shooting stuff. So just thought I would highlight PJ there as well.
No. Yeah. I mean, I've thought a lot about him this season watching him because he's gotten a lot of opportunities, offensively that maybe he wouldn't when this team's at full strength. Certainly when Gordon Hayward's in there. I mean, you mentioned a second ago that, his off the dribble stuff, how impressive it is, the fluidity of it, it kind of looks aesthetically like it should work more often than it does sometimes. And honestly, I can remember watching his tape at Kentucky, and obviously you saw it a lot less there than you did here, but remember seeing that some and be like, man, there's actually, he played center there, but you saw, you just saw it in spurts, with his tape at Kentucky, and you're like, man, there's really something to tap into. And maybe he can continue to develop in that 3-4 hybrid kind of role with his, taking somebody off the dribble, pull up shooting. I still think PJ Washington's best offensive skill is back to the basket, matchup beater, get to his right hand. He's really good at that little right-handed hook in the paint. That is a very, very efficient shot for him. And then he's super physical, so he can get to the line when he can get his shoulder into other players. But I just think I think we're asking too much of PJ Washington to do anything out of one or two dribbles facing the basket. Just my opinion. We'll see where it goes for him. Obviously, Hornets didn't extend him, so we're not even sure he's going to be on the roster next year. But I would be skeptical. I would, yes, I think that's fair to say. I would be pretty skeptical to think that there's more off the dribble offensive skill to tap into on PJ Washington. I think he's a catch and shoot guy, and I think he's a matchup beater. And anything above and beyond that you're asking from him, you're probably asking too much. I think I've seen enough at this point. And not that he can't do it. I mean, again, we've talked about that he can. We've seen it. I don't see a guy that's real confident in that aspect of his game. He's coming up on the end of his rookie deal, so he's not going to get that many more opportunities to do that kind of stuff. So, but a good night, another efficient night for PJ.
Yeah, probably one of the few that was efficient tonight. Two other players I do want to mention, and one I do want to get your opinion on, or both. Jalen McDaniels tonight, you mentioned him not shooting the ball very well and not being all that efficient, but he does all the little things to me that always shows up when you just watch the game and not necessarily in the box score. He had a very good dig on Hachimura to get the strip steal and got behind two Wizards for a transition bucket. I will say that even though I've noticed this over the past 3 or 4 games with him, and it's not just him, but Clifford has trusted him with taking the ball up the court, off a rebound, off a make. And we've seen slight improvements with the on-the-ball stuff with him. But he is still a little bit weak as he's dribbling through traffic, and he loses the ball a little bit too frequently for my taste, especially if he's trying to split a double team or if there's any kind of contact on his way to the rim. It just feels like his handle gets a little bit loose. But, that's something that will come with time. Hopefully he can, get a little bit stronger on the ball, but just physically stronger so that he's not losing the ball as frequently. I think he even forced a jump ball in this game. So just the little things with Jalen, I love to pinpoint. And then Book Night, I cannot tell. I cannot tell if he's making strides or not. I really can't. I'm just trying to hold out hope with this guy and be as positive as possible. And I'm trying to look for all the positives that I can with him. And I still wonder, and I kind of want your opinion on this, where his role is when Martin comes back and when LaMelo comes back with the backcourt. Where do you see his minutes going? I guess one thing that I just want to highlight with JB is the fact that he has been fairly decent on the defensive glass recently, and just attacking the ball at its highest point. And this allows him to be good in transition as well, and just being aggressive and assertive in that end. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know how you feel about Book Knight, how positive you are on him. I'm trying to find all the positives I can with him, but his rebounding has been good, so I'll say that.
Yeah, I mean, on McDaniels first. I mean, look, he does the dirty stuff. He's such a hardworking defensive player. Doesn't have the physique you would like. Not a guy you can switch on to a lot of different positions, and he can hold up. Certainly not in the front court, but boy, he's really a Clifford kind of guy. I mean, I think 3 blocks, 2 steals tonight. I mean, just making an impact on that end pretty consistently. You just want more from him offensively, especially in the shooting department. Like, I think he's very, very, very overtaxed in the ball handling category right now. But Charlotte doesn't have any choice. Like, they just don't. When Rozier's on the bench, we've talked about it already. Like, there's just guys on this roster that are not meant to dribble more than 2 or 3 times a quarter, probably, that are having to dribble 2 or 3 times a possession. And that's just the reality of this roster right now because of injuries. And, yeah, you can tell. Jalen McDaniels constantly gets the ball taken away, a high dribble, can't get through traffic, can't really drive in a straight line very often if he's got, 2 guys collapsing on the gap. So I like McDaniels. I'm kind of at the point where I'm like, you can tell me he's going to be a rotational NBA player for another 10 years, and you can tell me he's out of the NBA in 2 years, and I would tell you I'm not sure. I'm not even sure where I would lean on that. I mean, really, like he's one of those dudes. In terms of James Bouknight, I'm not super optimistic. I'll be honest. Like it jumps up. His talent and ability jump off the screen at you so quickly. Like his first step, his ability to slash, to get to the rim, his length. I mean, he had a nice left-handed layup tonight where it was like a semi-pump fake, but he also looked confused. And then defender, I don't remember who it was, maybe it was Kuzma, kind of jumped at him. And, Bouknight was kind of like, oh, I just have the entire lane. And just took 2, long strides, rather casual long strides, and boom, he's right there at the rim. Like, he has all the tools. There is absolutely no question about that. That's obvious. I just watch a guy that, I mean, sometimes, Richie, for me, it's like just the eye test thing. Like, how comfortable does this guy look? Like, how confident does he play? Just like watching his body language. And he has the worst of the worst kind of body language. Mm-hmm. And look, we've got a few clues about some things that are going on off the court for him right now. So that's not like super surprising. But I don't know. I mean, he's getting an opportunity, and I'm kind of surprised by that, with Steve Clifford as the head coach. I wouldn't bet on it. I would not bet on James Bouknight working out. And that's probably the pessimist in me, and you're over there saying, hey, yeah, I'm looking for all the good things, right, being an optimist. I don't see it. I really don't. I mean, the over dribbling and the backing out and the like, is he going to pull up right now, or is he just going to get off of it after he just dribbled it 5 or 6 times? Is like, shouldn't we kind of sort of be past that now? And look, you and Brian, or was it you and Lee? No, I think it was you and Brian earlier in the season. I think it was actually before the regular season, had a podcast, and you guys talked about, just putting him in advantageous situations. And I think that Charlotte has started to try to do that. Mm-hmm. I mean, they've used him on pin downs. They've, inserted him into this offensive action that they like to run, with Plumlee at the high post, bringing him off a little pin down screen, a little handoff. But like he just does not have the confidence to get downhill right now with the basketball. It's very, very obvious that it's hard for him to do it. The light can come on at any time, but boy, going off what I have right now, I don't see that light coming on anytime soon.
And it feels like he's got to make his move now. If Melo comes back and Cody Martin comes back and things like that.
This is his chance, right?
Yeah, this is his chance to take advantage of the situation. Just not putting a lot of consistency for the 48 minutes. All right, we're gonna wrap here with Ian as a speaker. So Ian, go ahead and give us your thoughts.
Awesome. My thoughts are, I really kind of wanted to ask you guys about coaching a little bit. I was watching this game, and anybody who watched it, I think, can tell that the offense didn't generate looks for anything. So I was wondering if you guys thought it was a hot take, because I don't think it's a hot take. I feel like if James Borrego was still the coach of the Hornets, some better looks would have been generated, because this game seemed very winnable. And I was kind of looking at the stats, and it looked like the Hornets won a lot of like the rebounding game, like steals and blocks, things like that. They just couldn't get any shots at all. I know injuries are obviously the big thing, like your best offensive players are out, but I was wondering if you guys thought that was a hot take or had a thought on that. And I wondered if there's any chance, since we started the season on a 5-game losing streak, 11 games in, if there's any chance that Steve Clifford might get fired at some point in the season. So I want to hear what you guys think about that.
Yeah, I don't know how much of a hot take that is. I think that JB was definitely an offensive-oriented coach, while Clifford is the opposite. You do have to take into consideration the injuries, like you mentioned, Ian, and I think that's probably the biggest factor right now. Clifford has not coached a single regular season game with LaMelo Ball as his point guard. So it's very hard to work around that in the personnel. And I know that Clifford has stressed the importance of pushing in transition. And when you're missing your best player that can not only rebound, but also be a player that can start and ignite the offense on that end in terms of getting live rebounds and steals and all that different type of stuff, I think that we need to be in wait and see mode in terms of what he can get out of that. I do think, to Ian's point, that maybe, offensively things would have looked a little bit differently tonight had Borrego still been the coach. But you could probably make the case on the opposite end of the court that Borrego's not getting the best out of some of these fringe players. I personally don't think, who knows where the record's going to be come, January 1, but I find it hard to believe that they would actually fire Clifford. And just with the hand that he's been dealt with all the offseason stuff that he's had to deal with and just some of the injuries that are piling up right now. But Spencer, thoughts on this question from Ian?
Yeah, in terms of the offense, I just think their hands are kind of tied right now, Ian. There's no spacing on this roster, especially when you're always going to play a traditional 5. With Plumlee and Richards, there's just nobody that can shoot. Outside of Rozier right now, there's nobody you can really count on to make consistent shots. Oubre, of course, has had his moments this season, but outside of those two guys, there's just no spacing. So, and it was clear Washington had that well scouted tonight. They were sinking in. I was mentioning that earlier in the podcast. In terms of Steve Clifford getting fired, I would be very, very surprised. The expectations were low coming into the season, even before you factored in the LaMelo injury, the Hayward injury, all these guys that we've got out right now. So I would be surprised. And I don't think that it certainly was not my expectation that Steve Clifford was the long-term solution in Charlotte. They had Kenny Atkinson, what they thought, in the bag and signed, sealed, and delivered, and next head coach of Charlotte. And then, overnight, he says, no, I'm good here. And so, Steve Clifford, whether we want to admit it or not, is probably a little bit of a lame duck coach. And I love Steve Clifford. I'm here for Steve Clifford every single day of the week. I think he's a really good coach. Is he a little outdated? Absolutely. It's certainly on the offensive end, but he's not the long-term solution. Charlotte had to put a Band-Aid on a gash quickly, and that's what they did. I just think the writing's on the wall. I remember me, you, and Brian were talking about this earlier in the year, Richie, but this LaMelo Ball injury. And he's going to be fine. LaMelo's going to be fine. It's not something super serious. And, I saw Rod Boone's video earlier in the night. It looks like he's moving around okay.
He's moving good.
Yeah, probably pretty close to returning. But, now you look at the Hornets' record without him, and you're like, I think it was a blessing in disguise. I really do. For them to just be this far behind the 8 ball this earlier in the year with this draft class coming up, it sucks to go through it, but it's what the franchise needs. Like, we need to win 25 games this year. We just do. That's the way this league works. The way the rules are made. Like, I don't like losing either. I would never lose on purpose, I don't think. I say that, and I probably would, though, if I was in the worst situation. But I think that LaMelo injury, it will look back on it and be like, thank goodness his ankle's okay, and also say thank goodness he turned it in the first place.
It's funny. You look at the standings right now, and the Hornets have 8 losses, which is tied for the most in the Eastern Conference. Yes, it's only 11 games into the season, but at 3-8, they are only above the Pistons and the Magic, who are 2-8 currently. I know there's some games going on right now. I guess all teams are playing tonight, with nobody playing on Tuesday. So we'll go ahead and wrap here, but I do want to let everyone know that's still here that we do have a giveaway going on, and anyone that's listening to this on the podcast version. So if you're in here, you actually get like a head start on this. If you want to get BuzzBeat Plus for the remainder of the 2022 calendar year, so till December 31st, we can have up to 7 winners. And what you need to do is download the Substack app, click on the chat icon at the bottom of the app, hop into the thread that says giveaway, and then just follow the directions. We will have up to 7 winners, or we can have 0 winners if no one actually does this. But this all needs to be done before 11 a.m. on Tuesday, November 8th, which is probably the time that most of you guys are listening to this. So it may be too late depending on when you are. But if you would like early access to content and all the perks that come with BuzzBeat Plus, take a look at the Substack app and look at our chat feature where you go into that thread. So next 2 games, Spencer, we have a back-to-back on Wednesday, Thursday with the Blazers and Miami. Do you have any parting thoughts as we wrap up this episode here?
Yeah, I mean, not really, other than it would like to, it would be nice to see LaMelo get back, some of these guys get healthy, and really primarily LaMelo. Like, I know Hornets fans are kind of going through it right now. It sucks. If you're a Charlotte sports fan, you got the Panthers to deal with too. So we kind of deserve something here. So it would be nice to see LaMelo come back and have some good games, look like himself, maybe help Charlotte get a few wins, and then maybe 2 or 3 weeks from now have a mysterious hamstring injury, and then we'll all be good. We'll feel good about next season knowing we're gonna have a top 5 pick.
Yeah, at least make the basketball a little bit more enjoyable, whether it results in more wins or not. That's kind of beside the point here. So thanks so much, guys, for tuning in, and we will talk to you guys later. Go Hornets, and take care.
Football season is underway, so now is the perfect time to download FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's free bets back if your first bet doesn't win. Just sign up with promo code BLUEWIRE. FanDuel is great because it has all of your favorite bets, from the money line to point spreads to player props. The app is safe, secure, and easy to use, and you get your winnings paid fast. So sign up today with promo code BLUEWIRE for your no-sweat first bet. Make every moment more this season with FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NFL. 21 plus in select states. First online real money wager only. Refund issued as non-withdrawable free bets that expire in 14 days. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit fanduel.com/RG in Colorado, Iowa, Michigan, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Illinois, or Virginia. 1-800-NEXT-STEP or text NEXT-STEP to 53342 in Arizona. 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut. 1-800-9-WITH-IT in Indiana. 1-800-522-4700 or visit KS Gambling Help in Kansas. 1-877-770-STOP in Louisiana. 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369 in New York. The Tennessee Red Line, 1-800-889-9789 in Tennessee, 1-800-522-4700 in Wyoming, or visit www.1800gambler.net in West Virginia.